Now, is your laptop charged?
My laptop is currently charged to 36%.
Is that going to
That's
last?
going to be enough, isn't it? Surely.
Depends how long we go.
Well, for anyone who hasn't listened to our top 10 films of 2021, there was an incident with my laptop not being charged. So, yeah, it might happen again.
It's a risk we take.
It is a risk. It's such a risk. So much danger attached to this podcast.
You're the one that edits this show,
Yeah,
so
it's true.
It's not
true.
risk for me. It's purely work for yourself.
It's hours and hours of trying to work out what's going on.
The good news is that we had it so well of just going, oh, the battery's run out. Play a bit of music.
Play a bit of music, come back again.
But when I listen to it, I don't know what music's coming up.
Oh, yeah, of course, because you don't edit it, so you don't know what strange stuff I've done with the pod.
I think I'm more ashamed that I do actually listen to our own podcast, and that's...
Oh, no, I prefer that, because I do worry, sometimes... when you're tired, and... Well, you won't know this. When you're tired and you're editing, you think you've done things, then what you really should do is go back and, double check it, and I do, for the most part, but sometimes my double checking might have sort of slipped through. So I do like it that you listen to it just in case something absolutely horrific has happened in the middle of the pod.
Like a slanderous comment.
Yes! Some sort of defamation or slander defamation. I always get the two mixed up for a lawyer. And one's in writing, one's when
Slander
you
is speaking.
Oh, go, thanks, hon.
Defamation. Well, liable is...
Oh, yeah, and libel.
Defamation.
Yes, I forgot about that.
I think, look, mansplaining, I think you'll find... Isn't defamation like the act of doing it, but the specific law is slander is spoken and libel is written?
I'm going to edit all this out.
So that you not get schooled on your own law.
Yeah. Oh, right, okay, top 10 of TV.
Top 10 TV.
It's been a while since we said we were going to actually do this, because we're well into 2022 now, so Happy New Year again, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, it's taken us a little while because it's taken us some time to find some space to actually sit down and do this. In the meantime, my top 10 has changed quite a bit.
Mine changed this morning.
Oh,
so,
did it?
Yeah.
That was going to be my next question. Edit that out as well. That was going to be my next question for you. Has your list remained the same, but clearly it hasn't?
It might have actually been... Actually, I said this morning, it was actually 2:00 this afternoon that it changed when I was making my list.
And why has it changed? Was it just something that sprung to mind, or had you read something?
No, it was... I was looking at my list and I was making notes on it, and I thought... I was looking... how I presented it was, I looked through all the stuff we'd reviewed and then looked through... I've got an app that's called TV Time that you just keep track of where you are on series and stuff like that. And so I looked through that. And then there was one show that I really, really like, which, for reasons which I'll explain, because it's my number 10, I left off. But no, it certainly deserves to be on there. So that's,
okay.
Yeah.
That's intriguing for number 10.
There are reasons why I left it off, but yeah.
Yeah, I found it really hard. I think the problem is, I've watched so much TV this year, or last year, as you know, with you, sat there. But there are major omissions. And when I read, let's say, The Guardian's top 50 things of the year, some of the main things I've seen, but there's a lot where I'm going, nope. And I know there are some programmes that I would probably love, but I just haven't found my way towards them, or I thought that the content might be quite triggering, so I didn't watch them for those reasons. But I know that they are meant to be spectacular, and therefore I kind of feel this sense of unease that my top 10 isn't really very good. I don't really feel, especially down the lower levels, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I feel like if I'd seen more, it would have been a different list. But I suppose everyone can say that. Yeah, I'm a little bit down on my list at the moment, but I think it's because I don't feel that I've seen some of the shows that I should have done. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, but, it's
almost like a sort of, what I've sort of missed out things.
I take it... I know it's something that will have been added to yours this week because you're catching up on other things that you might have missed.
I'll talk about that after. I haven't put that on my list because I didn't see it in 2020. So I'm going for a pure things I've seen. No, I feel it's the right thing to do.
You put in rules in that you don't need to be there.
Well, I felt it's the right thing. That's how I started my list off, but I'm going to talk about that one show that I've seen this week that I've watched in 2 days, which absolutely would have been on this list if I had seen it last year. We'll talk about that at the end.
I'm knocking off your number 10 then, and I'm not considering it canon.
Okay.
Shall we get on with it?
Yeah, let's get on with it. As we have done with our top 10 films of 2021, if you've listened back to that, we're going to go in from 10 to 1. Yeah. You're going to go, I'm going to go. If we've got something that appears on our list twice, we'll wait until it's further on up the list.
Yeah, we'll give each other a nod.
Yeah.
Don't just go into the review as you did a number of times during the film review.
I got told off quite a lot in the film review, didn't I? Yeah. I was very proactive with it all.
You ready?
Yes, go.
Right, you went first in the film, so shall I go first on the TV?
I said. Yeah, you go first. I did say that. Yeah, you go, because I'm intrigued now by what's your number 10.
Okay, well, I don't think this... Well, I don't know. So this is something which made me laugh more than pretty much anything else this year. I think it's a little bit flimsy, and therefore that's why it didn't make my list the first time, and I just kind of struck it off as something I enjoyed. But the more I thought about it, there is nothing else that made me... Well, maybe one other thing. Made me consistently laugh, like barely laugh as much as Nevermind the Buzzcocks.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I'd put that on as well. I wish I'd put that on. It's not on my list, but I totally should be.
I think this was... There's been some really sniffy reviews of this.
Yeah.
And that was not my experience. I suspect that some of the people's mind were made up beforehand. I don't want to judge anyone who says who didn't like it, but I rolled my eyes when I heard it was coming back. But I think they had a really good cast. Greg Davies is the perfect host.
He's wonderful.
Just the right side of entertaining and acerbic. Yeah, that's the exact words I would use.
He's so good at just not even taking, you know how previous hosts would take the mick, is what I would say. I would take the mick out, pull their leg. He just goes for them.
Yeah.
He just absolutely goes for them in a way that he does it. And then everyone, it's not there's no cruelty attached to it.
Yeah, there is no punching down on it. Yeah. It is absolutely punching up to rich rock stars. But it's not, you're quite right, it's not cruel. It is just, it's almost a roast, I think is the term. Use. I mean, Noel Fielding has come back and continues to be his...
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, I think he feels he can be more Noel Fielding than he is on the Bake Off on this.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's hilarious on the Bake Off, but I think that's it. Daisy May Cooper was someone who really surprised me.
Yeah.
Having just watched This Country this year, and she's... Yeah, she wasn't the person who I thought she was going to be, but she's so good on it. And I mean, for me, the real star of it is Jamali Maddox.
Oh yeah, totally.
Proper breakout year for him between. Was it Welcome to My House? Or
this is my house.
Yeah, such a good presence. Just like very dry, but really, really funny. And that's all it needs to be. Also, they've got really, really good guests on this year. Now, there's a lot of musicians who I can't name.
Never heard of them. Yeah. Never heard of them.
But one that came to mind is Anne-Marie, who was just really self-deprecating, but funny and witty.
They had Bez and Sean Ryder from the Happy Mondays, which you kind of think that's going to be car crash telly, but because they are so knowing about their past, about how they've aged now, how they, their days of raving is sort of over, and all of that comes to the fore, and they're so witty and so to the point where I got us tickets to go and see the Happy Mondays because the full band are back together, including Rowetta.
Yes.
MVP Rowetta.
X Factor's Rowetta.
Absolutely, X Factor's Rowetta. So yeah, I bought tickets off the back of watching Nevermind the Buzzcocks and going, wow, they've absolutely still got it. It's not a parody of them, and playing along. And I think because now we're at an age where the people they've got who are doing things like the lineup, where there are various people lining up and you have to guess who was in the original, who was in the band and who they've just sort of pulled in from the production team. And they've got people like Goldie Look and Chain and Blazing Squad.
You know as I love you, baby.
So, like, bands that we love listening to now with zero irony, we just, sing them to each other.
I think there's a fair bit of irony on Blazing Squad.
I knew when I was saying there was some but I listen to, like, Blazing Squad when I'm running.
We have watched the videos to Flip Reverse it. Because...
It's amazing.
Because there's a guy who does nothing in the video to Crossroads. Then we went and looked at the other ones, and he's singing lead vocals on Flip Reverse It. I mean, that's just how...
It's just how things go in Blazing Squad, really.
That's just how versatile they are.
Yeah,
crazy.
Crazy.
And then we looked up what they're all doing now.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Well, this is perfect for this show, isn't it? It's nostalgia completely for us. I wonder if it works for people who are a bit younger.
I don't know.
Because they've got the younger acts on, because they've got people we don't know, because we don't listen to the charts. So they've got the chart stoppers, is that what you would call them? I don't know what you would call it. The hit makers.
Hit parade.
Are on. And we kind of ignore them and go, oh, they're interesting. Never heard of them before. Probably multi-million platinum selling, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But we're there for the old. So maybe it works on both levels, I don't know. We spent a lot longer talking about Nevermind the Buzzcocks than I expected.
Definitely, yeah. But yeah, I found it genuinely funny. And, like, I would be, having to pause it because I was laughing that much. Mm-hmm. And I can't, like, if people have turned up the nose of it, fair enough, but I loved it.
Yeah, I wish I'd put it on.
Okay.
We still haven't watched the Christmas special.
No, but it's a nice little treat. It's fallen a bit far down on the Sky Plus, hasn't it? Sky Plus, yeah. Yeah.
You get your little numbers
That's
out.
That's how old we are, yeah.
Put the numbers in.
That's Video Plus, honey.
Is that Video Plus? Okay.
Yes. Thanks, try that.
Okay, well, my number 10. It's interesting now that you've said this whole thing about, never mind. My number 10 is This Is My House.
Jamali Maddox.
Jamali Maddox has had a great year.
best.
And you know what? There were other things that were going to go into number 10.
Yeah.
And I've moved it about in my mind. Like, for example, Vigil was going to be at number 10 at one point. But when I thought about it...
This is more ludicrous than me putting Malignant at my number 10, by the way.
Really?
No one in the world has put This Is My House. Even the makers
I still want to call it Welcome to My House. The maker, who is? Remind me who one of the makers is. Is it Richard Bacon?
It's Richard Bacon.
That's it. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just laughing at it. Stop laughing at yourself. I just love it. I love the concept. I love the fact that we watched the first episode and I was like, this is stupid. This is stupid. I can tell who lives in this house. Because that's the entire... Anyone who hasn't seen it, the entire premise is...
I think we need to explain the premise pretty hard. No, I think we need to explain it a bit better.
That's what I'm doing. I'm doing it right now. You're not going to give me a chance to explain the premise. You're going to explain the premise. Well, stop it. I'm just about to explain the premise, and you've just butted in to explain the premise without giving me the chance to do it.
I don't think you were going into it as much
Okay,
as
I'm going to explain the premise, just to let you know. Right, good. No, I can't think of what to say. The premise is that there is a house, and there are different... Every week there's a different... And it's sometimes the big and exciting houses. Sometimes there's more sort of like your new build, only a nice new estate sort of houses. So different types of houses. And there are 4 people within the house, and each one of them says that it's their house. They own that house.
Yes. And
then we go round the house with them as they explain things about the property, like, that's the sofa where, great Nana knocked over a glass of wine, or that's, this is our favourite spare bedroom, all of those sorts of things.
I think everyone has a favourite spare bedroom,
I have a favourite spare bedroom. So, and then there's a panel. You're really making me nervous now because you've put me under pressure to explain this premise. There's a panel watching the house explode. See, this is what I mean. There's a panel watching, and they are going to be making that. They're the clue masters. They're going to look at the clues, and they're going to work out whose house it is. And so are we at home. Yeah. We're doing that. Would you like to carry on with the premise, Mark?
I think the joy, and I think you've explained it really well there, but the one thing that might not be evident to people is it might seem a little bit like a bit reverse through the keyhole.
Through the keyhole. Mm.
The 4 people who's walking around the house are interacting with each other.
Yeah.
So whilst there are people going, this is my favourite spare bedroom because everyone's got a favourite spare bedroom, there's the other person going, well, no, this is my house. So no, this is like the room that we actually
like rolling their eyes.
We've never actually done this. And then the other person goes, well, actually, this is not a spare bedroom. This is the bedroom that my son sleeps in when he comes home from university. Mm-hmm. And they all have this lavish explanation.
Just saying.
But there are times where we've been so sure.
And that was it. The first one, I was like, this isn't a game. This isn't a game at all, because I can tell who's acting and who is a real person. And then there was an episode where it all turned on. Do you remember that episode?
Yeah.
It all turned on its head, and we were like, what?
Because the person whose house it is gets the chance to secretly vote off someone who they think is the big threat. Because if it's guessed that they are the house owner,
they
win £1,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
So they get to vote off the players, and we were like, well, it's obviously her, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then she was
And then
voted
she's
off as being
gone.
an actress, and
then
like,
they come
what?
on and like different, and obviously people can act, and that's what they do. But when they come on and they're like got a completely different accent, and it's like, oh no, my name's Kerry and I'm from like, I don't know,
Wolverhampton.
Thank you.
Yes.
I was gonna go Dover. I don't know why. Anyway, yes, all of that. So. And again, people might be very sniffy at This Is My House, which I always want to call Welcome to My House because that is the song that plays when it comes on.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It brought me a lot of joy, particularly during the various lockdowns that we'd had in 2021 as well. It was a good sort of lockdown or high level of restriction because we're in the northeast of England and we were under lots of local lockdowns during 2021 when the rest of the country perhaps wasn't at certain times. So it was really good for that. So I remember it being that sort of time when we watched it.
Yeah.
Number 9 for you. We need to speed up. We're spending way too much time explaining all of these things.
Well, I think this one might be quick because this might be in your list higher up. My number 9 is Cruel Summer.
Yes, it is in my list.
Okay.
Let's wait for that.
Okay.
Number 9.
Yeah.
It's very low.
Sorry.
Might take a while to get to it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
So my number 9 is Ridley Road, which is a BBC drama that I spoke about. What
You're assuming this isn't on my list?
Yeah, I am assuming this isn't on your
Yeah,
list.
it was not, yeah.
I thought I'd done something wrong there. I thought I'd done what I did in the 10 films, the top 10 films, and just like railroaded through.
No, I don't have. I don't actually remember you talking about this. So,
Do you not?
No.
I only spoke about this a few months ago. It's a true story of fascists moving into London and people from the Jewish community really rallying together and almost having like a secret society and making people aware and protecting people within the community and also trying to get to the bottom of what is happening within this fascist group. It's absolutely it's heartbreaking at times. There are characters that have had experiences with the Holocaust that we learn about. There are a number of very, very difficult scenes of clearly of racism and people preparing to engage in racist acts and violence. Really, really different. A lot of where you can imagine where you're absolutely on the side of the people fighting the fascists, and when they're infiltrating a fascist group you can really feel the tension, and you know exactly who you want to win, but they're going into such a dangerous environment that you're just sitting there going, get out, please get out, don't let anyone work it out, that sort of thing. You're giggling away in the background. Is there something that I've said that's funny?
No, not at all. I just think Ridley Road isn't really a very descriptive name for it.
Well, it's part of the story.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's just, it sounds like a really generic...
And it's anything but, and it's based on a book, and I suspect the book is called Ridley Road.
Yeah, I like, this has stuck with me just from you mentioning it. But Ridley Road just reminds me of like Coronation Street, and
I suppose it would.
Every time you mention Ridley Road, I think of Waterloo
Road.
Yeah, Waterloo Road and stuff like that, and I'm like, and then you tell me what it is, and I think, oh shit.
Yeah. It's a lot darker than Waterloo Road. It's just beautifully done, beautifully acted, and a real sense of tension all the way through. And it was a really, really good BBC drama, and I hope it gets the recognition that it deserves. I wonder whether it might have gone slightly under the radar. Cast were absolutely brilliant. Storyline was, I don't want to say brilliant because obviously there's some really, really difficult bits in there, but really, really compelling.
It's one of them things which I heard critics review, but I've not heard anyone mention aside from you. So it might have gone under the radar.
Yeah. Your number 8.
This one might be one that we skip over as well.
Okay.
Mayor of Easttown.
Yes, we're skipping that.
Okay. Well, I don't get to talk about a lot, so I'm glad I took my time on Never Mind the Buzzcocks.
I mean, my laptop, as I turn around to see what's next, my laptop battery might be okay.
Yeah.
So, my number 8, you haven't seen, but you've heard me talk about recently because it's another recent watch. And this is I have to get it right. I'm turning around to check it because I always get the title of this wrong. It's A Great British Scandal, which we didn't talk about on podcast, but I've watched very, very recently. It's only been on in the last couple of weeks, and I've spoken to you about a lot. Do you remember what A Great British Scandal is about?
No, because whenever anyone mentions it, I just think of... What was the thing that was out a few years ago? A Very English Scandal?
That's right. Yes, it is. And it's all... I think it's people have said that it's sort of a success. It kind of is, and then it kind of isn't. It's Sarah Phelps who's done a number of the remakes of the Christies and the reimaginings of the Christies that we've watched a little bit in the past. Do you remember? And then there were None, which we watched one year, and then she did Witness for the Prosecution.
I remember, and then there were None. Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you looking at me like that? There's something happening in your face.
So I've just looked this up. This is actually called A Very British Scandal, not A Great British Scandal.
Really? This is what I mean.
Great British Bake Off, well. Very British Scandal.
Yeah, A Very British Scandal rather than A Very English Scandal, which was the production that had Ben Whishaw and Hugh Grant in.
Is it the Perfumer Affair?
No, honey, that's
I'm getting
not.
Mixed up
you're getting confused with your. Yeah, it wasn't the Perfumer Affair. So let's move on to A Very British Scandal, which is the one that we're talking about. So this is the relationship between the Duke and Duchess of Argyll. It's an incredibly famous story of, and this isn't a spoiler, it's an incredibly famous true story of divorce. And we see how they meet, we see how the divorce manifests itself, and we see what happens particularly to the Duchess of Argyll, who... It's a very, very famous case. I remember reading about it in my law classes as well. Even though it was a much older case, but I do remember it being spoken about in sort of family law and things like that. But it was a case where a woman's sexuality was used against her. Okay. So a man can have as many affairs as he likes, but if a woman has an affair, then
yes.
we're looking into that territory. But it's also the case where the Duchess herself is someone who says quite openly, I like sex. I like to be around men. And this is before her marriage. She'd been married before. In between her marriage, and she is someone who is saying very openly, I like to be in the company of men. And she's at one point says, I'm very good at it. It's something I'm good at. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's, I think now we would talk about that in terms of sex positivity. So I love this. It's Claire Foy going head to head with the fella from One Division, Paul
Bettany.
Thank you. For that moment there, all I could say was vision. So Claire Foy and Paul Bettany, and a cast of characters around them as well, but mainly those two going head to head in terms of love, in terms of passion, but also in terms of hatred, in terms of betrayal, and it's just beautiful. It's beautifully shot. There's like a castle in it that I loved, and I just really liked that interrogation of what happens when a man has a number of affairs in a marriage, but how do we cope as a society when women talk about wanting to have sex and having a sexual appetite? There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason I've gone there you go and pointed at you is because I can see that you're wanting to say something.
No, there's some really, really good people in this. I'm just looking at the cast list now.
It's stunningly shot.
And then there was... Look, I don't mean to belittle your show. There was also a guy who I thought looked like, and this is a reference that only you will get, so you might want to edit it out.
Come on then.
I thought this guy might have been T-Shirt from Teabag.
Oh, he does look like T-Shirt from Teabag.
What's going on?
Well done. What a hero.
Teabag.
Yes, it's me.
Oh, no. What is going on? It was a trick. Oh, what an idiot. Who is she?
Tell the girl, T-Shirt.
T-Shirt? Who's T-Shirt? Me, I'm T-Shirt. But you're Thomas. Not anymore.
His name is Mitchell Robertson. He's only been in this, so it's definitely not T-Shirt.
No, it's definitely. I think T-Shirt from Teabag is very old now
probably
as well.
Yeah, probably about 45.
Right,
yeah. Well, he'll be older, but yeah, that's a reference no one else.
That is a reference no one else gets. Sorry, everyone.
I'm also looking at my list, and I think there's two left on here that I don't think have got in yours.
All right.
So unless the rest of yours are on my list, then you've left out some things that I'm very surprised about.
I probably have then.
Okay.
Okay.
Shall I move on to my number 7?
Yes, please.
This is something I think we will almost certainly be speaking about later.
Okay.
Which is Sex Education season 3.
Yes, we will be. Yeah.
Okay.
This is good.
Yes.
Building up.
I'm not getting to talk about stuff at all. What's your number 7?
Hang on, looking at the laptop. Oh, my number 7 is Sex Education.
Oh wow, that's good.
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
Right, okay.
So it's officially the 7th best show of the year.
It is officially the 7th best show. Right, do you want to talk us through season 3 of Sex Education?
So I think this isn't my favourite season of the show. For that, I think the first series was probably my favourite. And I'm going to go into a mild spoiler. This is the very end of the Otis Maeve Willy Won't in a fashion.
Oh, I think I think it is.
Yeah. And I know there's some speculation that Emma Mackey is not going to be back for season 4 because she's got a film coming out, which maybe.
No, it definitely is coming out.
Yes.
The film, for anyone who doesn't know, is Death on the Nile,
Yeah.
which obviously has huge problems at the moment with one of its cast, that being Armie Hammer. So there was some query about whether it's been pushed back, and now it is coming out.
And I think with Sex Education, each season will move on to someone else in the side characters. So season 2 is very much Amy's story, and that's still one of the best episodes of any TV I've seen over the last 5 years, is the combination of that storyline. In this season, she was very much sort of played a bit in the background.
But still, I think interesting in this series, you see the ramifications of that storyline still with her.
Yeah.
So she's going to therapy. She's having problems with her boyfriend. It's not just that thing has happened to her and that's it. We've forgotten about it. The show's there's threads that go through the show all the way through to this season, which I think is really important. This
series looked a lot of trans issues, which is not something you see necessarily in a youth TV show nowadays. I mean, this is rated 18 on Netflix, but yeah, I mean, it certainly appeals to the young market.
Oh, absolutely. Do you remember in the review I said that I'd walked into somewhere like H&M or something and found, like when we reviewed it on the pod ages ago, and I found like T-shirts and like actual Moordale High like bags and things like that, and so it's absolutely going for that market.
And the two that really struck me was Eric's journey this season. So like his go to Nigeria, where very different culture, and being around his family, and how he dealt with being an outwardly gay man but in a place where homosexuality wasn't accepted, and we all know what happens in Nigeria. And the threat of that episode, I mean, we were waiting for something to happen. But the absolute star of this season, and it won't come as any surprise to anyone who's seen it, but it's Connor Swindells as Adam.
He's brilliant.
It makes me well up just thinking about how good his acting is in this. Coming from where he was at the end of season 2 and the end of season 1 even, to the person he becomes in this. I've said it during our review. This is such an important show, and I wish that I had a show like this when I was a teenager, so that it would really help me understand the world around me far better. People who were different to me, and I like to think that I was quite an understanding kid, but this really, really shows things that weren't on TV when I was a kid. And it's such a brilliant show. I understand that they're going to finish it with the 4th season, and I think that's probably about right.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, just showing every single side of society, and just everyone being okay. And it shows that you'll have shit times, but it will get better, and there are good people out there. And I love this show, and I felt it was a bit low at number 7, but I think season 1 would be higher up. I think this is the right place for it. But yeah, I'm so glad it's on both our lists.
And I said this on our review when we actually went through it back in the pod a few episodes ago. I can't better what you've said, and I feel the same way now.
Good. Can I go on to my number 6?
You can. I'm just going to check mine out. Just, see what I've said. Okay, yes.
Yeah. My number 6 is the season 2 of I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. Okay,
so I know of this show because you talk about it quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I've never watched it. So tell our audience about I Think You Should Leave.
This is surreal observational comedy. Episodes are about 15 minutes long. I just put an episode on while I was on the treadmill earlier for 15 minutes, and fortunately I've seen it a few times, because the first time I saw it, I used to put it on when I was like nursing Blake to sleep in the middle of the night, and had to stop that because my
Were you
laughing
laughing
was
too
keeping him up, like proper belly laughs. It's a sketch show, and it plays with the format of sketch shows. So a sketch will start off being something, and then like a little bit observational, like someone goes to a tour of a haunted house, and then you're laughing because I showed you this clip.
Yeah, you did.
And cheesy tour guides with their well-rehearsed shtick that everyone gives a polite laugh to, and then it goes completely sideways by someone who completely doesn't understand the situation. My highlights this year are Coffin Flop, which I think is everyone's favourite. And I showed you that. And
it's so wrong.
But
it's so wrong.
It is funny.
But it is funny.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We can show them nude because they don't have souls.
God, it's just not right.
There is an episode in a courtroom that's just brilliant, and it's just played perfectly. And yeah, the ghost tour guide. But I mean, different day, I could name about 3 different episodes. There's one with Santa Claus. There's one with watch it. It's on Netflix. It's 15 minutes long. It's humour that I think appeals to people who don't necessarily like sketch comedy. There's 2 seasons of it, and you can just put them on the background, and it really does get better with the second viewing as well. Like the first time, the Santa sketch, the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, well, that's okay. Yeah, I get the joke. Next time, I was just crying laughing because I wasn't looking for the joke. I was just letting it all hit me. Yeah. Hot Dog Car is from season 1.
Are you just going to list the
sketches?
Sketches
Yes, I'm just going to list sketches.
You are, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your number 6?
My number 6 is Line of Duty.
Okay, well, that's my number 5.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it.
Right.
I mean,
I'm really pleased it's on your list because it has been omitted from many of the sort of very well-known TV reviewers' lists.
I mean, I think the fact that we did the podcast for it,
yes,
although it nearly killed us and nearly ended our marriage,
it did,
and
yes.
Recording straight after, when you're hitting a time when your child is going through the worst sleeping pattern possible.
The worst. It's mad to actually think about it now, isn't it? Because now we are thank God, we're in a bit of a better situation in terms of the sleeping.
Yes.
And much, much better when we think back to that time in our lives. I mean, we were having to run up and down the stairs. As soon as we turned the mic on, he would be crying. Then we were sitting for an hour, and then the time would be ticking down because we were like saying, right, we're going to record straight after the show. The show would end at 10, or even sometimes a little bit later by the time you got the loo or something like that. Yeah. And then you'd be sat in a dark room with a baby thinking, how am I going to get this podcast recorded? How am I going? Because we said we would edit it and get it out that night, which is what we did. I sat and edited it after you got it out. It was just absolute madness. I mean, yeah.
Bloody
like
good for
the
listening figures, though, wasn't it?
With best reviews, the best figures we've ever had.
Yes.
Like, we'll never go back to those heady days of those figures. I mean, I remember just looking and thinking, who is listening? Who is listening? There can't be that many people who were watching it. And yeah, it was a really lovely time in our lives. We were invited to go on local radio, and we got to do some.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, some brilliant, brilliant moments for us. Just really good fun of being rang up and going, do you want to come on the radio this morning? And then being asked to go back on and sort of feeling like we'd done a good job the first time. I think that's the thing of, they're asking us to go back on, they must have liked us. That was really lovely for us, especially at a time when you're majorly sleep deprived. Yeah. And just so much was happening in our lives at the time. So my part of me was thinking, is it because our Line of Duty episodes are live straight after, recorded and edited, probably absolutely terribly, straight after the episodes are our best, our most listened to episodes of all time, apart from a random one that I think has Vigil and a couple of others.
Jet Mercuria. We have a few drinks, don't we?
There's a funny one that just pops up right at the top, and you think, why are people listening to that? But yeah, it does seem to be. But if you look at our most downloaded, for last year, they absolutely come up there. But I genuinely think there's been a lot being said about this series, and I think when something rides so high, it almost comes to a point, doesn't it, where people want to bring it down.
And I think the reviews of the series were really good up until last episode, and I really enjoyed the last episode.
I loved it.
But I remember writing down on my notes, because we were taking notes while we were watching
that,
saying people will hate this.
Yeah.
And then we started recording, and my text messages started coming through of like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And I was like, I just need to bring you down for a second, because I've got a feeling that we're going to be opposite to what the country thinks on this.
And it's not that we were sort of going into everything going, that works or that works. There were some things that we were saying, not quite, I'm not quite sure about that. But I totally get what Mercury was doing with that last episode. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but there's something that happens in that last episode, and I thought, you know what, it just rings true. It absolutely rings true, because this is the way that crime works, Yeah,
and I think it wasn't what people wanted. People wanted the big twist thing, and it wasn't the twist that they wanted. But yeah, I was absolutely fine with it, and it goes down with Lost and How I Met Your Mother as one of the endings that people hated that I actually quite liked.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, if that is the very ending, because I've got a feeling
I think they'll come back. I think they'll take some time, and I think they might reset.
Yeah.
But I think it's coming back. I think it's coming back.
So you're number 5.
My number 5, I have to sort of explain. When I first thought about this list in my head, it was absolutely number 1. And then I listened to some other podcasts, the Cinemile in particular, when they went through their top shows of the year. And Kathy from the Cinemile made such an impassioned sort of call for this program to be number 1, and I thought, I know it's not there anymore, because my list is sort of like what I enjoyed, and it moved sort of its functionality as time went on. But I totally understand that if this was a list of what were the best TV shows, what's the most meaningful TV shows, what's the TV show that did the most for society and should be watched over and over again, it would be It's a Sin.
Well, we're not going to talk any further about it.
Right, I thought so.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
My number 4, and this is 100% something that I can talk about.
Okay.
My number 4 is Starstruck.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Did you watch the whole thing then? You must have done for it to be number 4.
I've watched the full thing twice.
Because I only watched the first episode, didn't I?
So, Starstruck is it's a British comedy. It stars Rose Matafeo, who's a New Zealand stand-up comedian.
I was about to say, is it more New Zealand, but she is in Britain, yeah.
Nikesh Patel, who is a British actor. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like a lower-key Notting Hill. It's a girl who is out at a nightclub on New Year's Eve and hooks up with some guy who she meets at the bar. And then when she wakes up next morning, she realises he's the biggest action star in film. It's like her hooking up with Tom Hardy, essentially.
Lucky girl.
Yeah. Well, yes, yeah. I mean, Nikesh Patel is a good-looking guy as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then they agree to see each other. It kind of works out and doesn't work out. They bump into each other throughout the year, and these are the rest of the episodes which go through to New Year, the next year. So the next episode's Easter, the next episode's summer, the next episode's autumn. Yeah,
Christmas
it works like that. And they don't see each other in between necessarily, but this is their meetups at different times. I loved this, and I thought you would really love it.
Just didn't do anything for me.
And yeah, it just didn't work. I mean, it feels so real. I think the relationships in this feel so authentic. And the way that people interact with each other, it just works for me. I cried my eyes out at the ending, and apparently they're making a season 2, which I have very mixed feelings of, because I thought the ending was just perfect, and maybe it should have been.
That was it, 1 and out.
Yeah, 1 and out. But this is, I mean, I think it's still an iPlayer, and I'd really recommend anyone who's not seen it to check it out, because it's a really, really lovely comedy, and the people feel so well written. I think that's people feel so well written.
Yeah.
And the relationships feel so authentic of sometimes you're not in the right place for people. And sometimes you meet the right person at the wrong time. So your number 4.
My number 4 is WandaVision.
Oh, well, that's interesting. My number 3 is WandaVision. So we've done that again.
I'm like really confused as to where you're, like, you know, when we're waiting for things to come back up. So we must be getting close to the point where everything is the same, surely.
Yes.
Okay, so how do we work this then? You're the good at maths. So do we say it together or no? No, there's a great big pause.
Do we say what together?
Well, do we do our review if yours is number 3?
Yeah. So we're both doing it at the same time. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So, sorry, you can't talk about it yet.
Yes, that's
then
right.
We'll come to my number 3, which is
right.
WandaVision.
That's what I need.
Yes.
That's what I need. Process, Mark. Process. A nice little process for me to follow. Thank you. Right, now we can do it. So, WandaVision. Wasn't looking forward to this. Don't like Wanda. Don't like Vision. Really, really wasn't going to watch it. You bought Disney Plus just to watch it, and then we ended up. Sorry, have I thought that
that's
wrong?
Not
Is
true.
that not true?
No, we already had
just
Disney Plus.
You put your hand in your head.
Yeah.
I took that as a sign.
we already
no,
had Disney
Elaine,
Plus.
this is wrong.
Yes.
But it was like the thing we got for. We did get it for that though. Didn't
we got it for the Mandalorian.
Marvels? Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Did we get it for the Mandalorian? Oh, I'm really forgetting about things, aren't I?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Anyway, Disney Plus on there. WandaVision, didn't care, and then it started.
Yes.
And it was amazing.
The absolute balls of doing those first 2 episodes, which were essentially parodies of 50s and 60s sitcoms, with nothing or the very minimal of hook for what was coming later on in the show.
Some strange moments that came out of nowhere, and we didn't know whether it was part of like the show or the television going wrong, or, you know, like looking at each other going, is this meant to be what's
and
all of that.
Inject that into my veins. That is what sells. That's perfect for me.
Proper, and like you're thinking about Lost, you're thinking about those.
Those
it really
things
was coming to mind.
allowed us to theorise.
Yeah.
I mean, this at the time probably would have been higher. It has the Last Night in Soho thing of, I think the ending let me down a tiny little bit.
Yeah.
But the ride there was so much fun.
Loved it.
Do you remember we used to do WandaVision lunches?
We did.
Where I would finish, we were both working at home at the time, and I would come downstairs and we would put on WandaVision, and that was it. Like, we would sit quietly with our lunches, and then at the end of it we would say, oh, that was awesome, because it's only half an hour long.
Yeah.
And then we'd talk about it for the rest of the half hour of my lunch.
Yep. It was perfect. And the theme of grief, the theme of trauma really, really resonated with me in particular. And I hadn't seen many shows. Maybe I wasn't looking for it. I certainly am now.
Yeah.
Those things, it's really meaningful to me now, speaking really personally. It's really meaningful for me to have those sorts of TV shows in my life now, because you feel like someone is speaking your language. You feel like, even if it's a completely different circumstance to your own trauma or to your own traumatic experience, you know that there's someone out there who is putting those things forward for a mass audience, for people to look at and to understand, and really to provide some empathy for those experiences. So really, on like a personal level, I found it not only for myself to be like, right, good, someone understands what it's like to go through trauma, or to have, you know, like PTSD, or to deal with grief, but it's also that thing of, and it's in the world. So if I needed to say to someone, it's a bit like this, I could point to on the surface of it, a daft Marvel TV show that's on for half an hour that we watch in our lunchtime, and that's really important.
Absolutely. I think it's a show that can talk about what is grief if not love persevering, but then they can also do an amazing song of it was all along. No spoilers. Randall Park and Kat Denning in this as a comedy double act of trying to work out what the hell's going on.
And obviously I didn't really, it's well versed on the podcast that I am not someone who knows Marvel very well. I've just never got into it. I wish I had. If you are a Marvel head, you would have loved this, because
I did.
Yeah, I'm not talking about you, but the general Marvel people would have loved this because they would have got so much more out of it than I did. But if I was getting this level of stuff out of it, I can only imagine what other people were, So, yeah, I was thinking, if you knew the Easter eggs, if you knew the characters, it would be even better.
Yeah, I mean, I think they still made a few mistakes. I think the ending was just a standard Marvel ending, which was disappointing. I think they led us down some paths, some intentionally, some non-intentionally, that could never be paid off. However, the journey there was amazing. The moment where someone rocks up at the end of an episode and my jaw was on the floor at them doing it. I
liked how it built up to things that are to come in the MCU.
Yes.
Which previously I would not have cared about, and now I'm excited to see a character who I didn't care about, Wanda, in other shows, for example.
Yeah, and I think they've been struggling to get past that ever since.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I don't think that Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to be on your list.
It's not. It's not. Loki's not. Hawkeye Hawkeye was number 10 up until Nevermind the Buzzcocks replaced it. Yeah, I mean, Hawkeye's lovely. Yeah. Hawkeye is a lot of fun and something very different to this. But yeah, and What If as well is the other one. That's but yeah, I'm absolutely obsessed with this. If this was a 24-week show like Lost was, I think I would have started up a message board called
you would have done as well.
Yeah, called
on Reddit,
Sparky's Kennel or something like that. And I'd have been going and theorizing. Yeah, absolutely obsessed, and may never be beaten in the MCU. So your number 3.
My number 3 is Mayor of Easttown.
Okay, so that's a big gap.
Jump, because you were number 9, weren't you? And I've gone up to 3.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't a happy watch, and I was thinking about this. I was like, it wasn't. All I can think about when I think of Mayor of Easttown, actually, I don't think, because this is a US crime drama. It's involving Kate Winslet. For anyone who hasn't seen it, I don't think we go any further than that and saying, that is the premise and that is it. The only thing I can think, I don't think about the crime. I don't think about the things that Kate Winslet as Mayor, is it Sheenan or Sheehan? I think it's Sheehan.
Don't think it really matters.
Sheehan, yes. As Mayor is investigating, because I think she's a detective sergeant. Don't really care about that. I think I'd worked that out quite early on. What I do care about is Mayor sitting in a car, middle of the night, eating things. Or having an argument with her mother who she lives with. Or having an argument with her daughter who thinking about what's going to happen with her grandson, or having, a discussion with her ex-partner who lives over the way. This is not really a story about the crime. It's a story about her, and I mean, it is called Mayor of Easttown. This is no new thing. It's on every review I've ever read. It's on every review I've ever listened to. It's Happy Valley for the USA. Happy Valley, starring Sarah Lancashire.
See, I've never seen that.
Which you have never seen, but has run a number of series now, is going to be coming back soon. Actually, when you think about the plot points in Happy Valley and Mayor of Easttown, you realise just how close they are.
I mean, so yeah. I mean, we got into quite a big argument about this because I thought it was quite derivative of having, things having 2 or 3 things of a murder show, but with a female detective who was
having a difficult time in her life,
and also having addiction of some sort, whether it be drugs or alcohol or whatever. And it was just tick you 3 off, and I felt this. I'm just sick of seeing those things. I wish to try something new. However, I mean, yeah, as it went, it was excellent. You didn't check. You didn't know this. I was the one who worked this out.
You're pointing.
Yeah, and I remember also getting into an argument with you on the podcast about how you said, well, we've solved the mystery in the last episode. I'm like, well, I'm not sure about that. And you're like, no. It's so obvious that has been settled now. And I'm like, I think there might be something else. And yeah. There was a lot went on.
Recollections may vary at times.
But again, this is a show that was about the murder of a young girl in a community, but there is still one of the most joyful scenes of the year, where they have attended a funeral and someone says something in their eulogy, or not the eulogy, but in the wake afterwards, and then you just see Kate Winslet in a car with her mother, just laughing her head off, and it's such a good moment. I
think there is going to be a season 2. Kate Winslet came out of this and said that it was such hard going for her on an acting level. It was so difficult and so deep, and we talked about this when we reviewed it at the time, that it was something that really took so much out of her as an actor, that living in the body of Mare and living in the world of Mare was and it is very dark, and it is quite miserable, apart from those moments of levity that you've spoken about, that I can understand it. And obviously during the pandemic as well, and it was hard going. I think she was living with Guy Pearce is in this as well, so she was living with Guy Pearce at the time. They were sort of isolating together. It was amazing. So
and Daphne,
yes, neighbours references for anybody who's wondering what Mark is going on about.
Well, if you're so busy, then I'll just tell you my news and get back to work. We've been invited out tonight.
Joan, I've got about 4 days of washing I've got to do. I can't really leave for Daphne, can I?
We can do it after uni.
So I think it was quite hard going as well, being away from her family. So that might have had something to do with it. But it looks like that this was only in December of last year. Something came out saying that if they are going to do a second series, they want to look at something to keep politically talking about things like Black Lives Matter and police brutality. So I think they will go, and you don't want a second series. No. You just want it to stop where it is.
I think I think it tied it up perfectly, and I think there is a real risk of Broadchurch second series too.
Yes, I think that's a really good point.
I think by all means the same writers, but build a new community to work it from. And that would be my choice. I don't think we need to. I don't think it needs to come back. And just use the same cast if you want to. But I would like a different set and a different character. I don't need to revisit these characters.
Okay, where are we up to?
It's my number 2 now.
Your number 2. Oh, okay, right. I've lost where we are.
I've worked out where we are.
Yeah, my head can't cope with it. Go on then.
My number 2 is It's a Sin.
Oh, okay. So that was my number 5.
Yes.
Oh, see, I think it belongs higher up, but
it was my number 1.
It's hard, isn't it?
It was my number 1 for a long, long time, and I suspect we've got the same number 1 now. Looking at the thing.
Yeah, I'm sure we do.
The one thing that it's almost tied with me. The one thing that put it down is it annoyed me when people came in and said "la."
Oh.
And that's the reason it's 1.111 rather than 2.
It's such an important show.
It is.
It really is. It's such an important show, and I think if we were, like I said before, if we were looking at the shows that are most meaningful for society, if the shows that shine a light on something that, some horrific times for people during the AIDS crisis, which, if anyone doesn't know, that's what It's a Sin is based in. In that period of time where people were, put in wards by themselves and not cared for, and where people were, by all intents and purposes, abandoned by their families and by the medical profession
and by society.
And this is not that long ago.
Yeah.
And it was beautifully but heartbreakingly rendered. And there were some, there's not even just some scenes, there are many, many scenes that will stay with me probably for the rest of my life.
I've written down on my notes the most heartbreaking scene of the year, but there's probably about 4 or 5 that could actually be.
Yeah. And you know what? I know the people aren't, I know those people were actors, but when I saw them on Great British Bake Off Celebrity Edition the other night, I think of them as those people.
Yeah.
And I think that is the sign of how brilliantly that they made those characters who were based on real people come to life. That they had rounded edges. And I love Russell T Davies's writing, where there's a lot of sex in this, as there often is in Russell T Davies's shows, but he doesn't just show the glamorization of sex, if that makes...
Yeah.
There are things that go wrong and things that are embarrassing and things that would sort of sit with you for a while if that was your first time, or if you'd met someone that you really fancied and that happened to you in it. And I just love that because it's just so realistic.
I totally agree. I think part of the thing is that they used, well, I mean, Ollie Alexander, absolute star-making term for him. I suspect a lot of people who were seeing this actually knew him as Years and Years.
Yeah, we didn't know.
It was only maybe about 2 months ago that I saw Years and Years saw him performing as Years and Years, the musical act, and thought, oh God, that's him. I didn't realise.
Yeah. He's brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, they all are.
But anyone out of the main cast, just absolute. I'd love to see what they're going to do next.
They do next, yeah.
And then around them, they put really, really excellent actors.
Like Keely
Hawes,
heartbreaking.
Stephen Fry, Neil Patrick Harris. Just such good actors that can really, really, really stand out in scenes amongst a cast that have got such good chemistry, and you really want to spend time with these people. Aside from the fact that they say "la" whenever they say hello to each other.
Let it go.
No.
There are people with T-shirts with "la" on now.
Yeah,
it's become a thing.
Yeah.
Not
good.
You.
Good for them. I won't be wearing them.
Okay.
Yeah. It should be. You're right. It should be number one.
It should be number one. The reason that it came a little bit lower on my list is I can't imagine watching it again for a very, very long time. It will have to come later in life, and I will probably have to really steel myself for it, because I don't think I've ever cried quite so much as during the, not just like, sometimes you get to the end of a series and you cry because it's come to an end and these things have happened. I was crying all the way through this. This was hard, like you say, there's heartbreaking moments all the way. So I find it a really hard but important watch. And I think it's something that as time goes on, people will revisit. It'll be shown, hopefully educationally for people as well. My understanding is that it's really helped people to talk about that period of time that maybe they've not felt able to. So it's opened up a conversation. So it is really, it's such an important thing. It's also a brilliant thing. It's not just saying, oh, it's so important, it's so weighty, it's so important, because people sometimes do that. Oh, well, it's such an important watch, it needs to be higher up. This is an important watch, but a brilliant piece of drama as well.
Yeah, and it's still available on Morph. Is it
More
Morph?
Four?
No,
All Four.
that's All Four. Four on demand, whatever
That's
it's
it.
called. That it's All Four. Yeah. There are 45-minute episodes. I think sometimes you can get caught up in some of these hard hit times where dealing with a subject. It can be sort of 90-minute episodes and things like that. This is primetime entertainment TV that deals with a very serious and very important subject.
Oh, that's really a good way of putting it.
It's almost perfect for me.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And therefore it should be number one, but we could go around the houses with it, can't we?
Yes, yeah.
What's next, Mark?
It's your number two.
My number
of which
two.
Of which I can tell you what it is, so you don't have to go to
and
it.
after saying all of that, now it feels a little bit frivolous.
But apparently better than that is
It's not better. It's not
Cruel
better.
Summer.
It's not better. It's
Is it?
not
Is it
better
Cruel
at all.
Summer?
It is Cruel
Yes.
Summer,
Yes.
but it's not better. It's just my personal.
I can understand that.
What have I enjoyed the most this year? And
Yes.
I had to put it up there because I loved it so much. And every time I think about it, I remember wanting to watch another episode and desperately trying not to watch too many without you.
How many did you watch without me? And was I aware of them all?
See, I'm not quite sure.
I remember you watched a couple early on, and I got quite angry
Yeah, you
about
got angry.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, not that angry. Yeah,
no.
I don't think I'm doing
I was about to say,
yeah.
like, no, dude, you were a bit knocked about, like anyone would be when,
Yes. But yes, it is one of the things that it's one of my pet hates.
I know,
is
and
you watching
on
things,
that sort of show as well, where it's so binge worthy.
Yeah.
And you want to do that together, not separate.
Because you want to experience it together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want to experience the twists and turns of it together. And what happens is, when you know what things are happening, you can then pay attention at bits, and you can then play with your phone at bits when I'm like going, well, nothing's going to happen now. Anyway.
So, Cruel Summer
yes.
is... Actually, I'm going to ask you a question. When I was looking up a few notes for this, people are calling Cruel Summer a teen drama. I'm not sure I agree with that. Would you call it a teen drama?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Do you think that's why we like it? Because it is a teen drama?
Yeah, I like it for the same way I liked... what was the film? Riverdale.
Oh, right, okay,
and almost the same reason I like Saved by the Bell and California Dreams and things like that.
They're high school-based dramas.
Yeah, which is what this is.
Yes. Set in the 90s.
Yes.
In America.
Over 3 summers.
Yeah.
3 consecutive summers, and we see them intermingled with each other. So the first summer, Jeanette is a, safe to say, geeky girl hanging around with her little geeky mates, and Kate is like the prom queen, homecoming queen, whatever Americans call their blonde poster, blonde poster girl. The second year, Jeanette is the popular girl, and Kate is just coming out of a bad situation, I think we'll say.
Very well put. I wondered how you were going to do that.
And then in the third year, Kate is struggling, I think is safe to say, with her experience, and Jeanette is one of the most hated people in America. And we don't see what happens in between. We see these things each summer, and it tells its way how forwards. It gets,
And there's a central mystery, which is so simple, which is someone lying?
Yes.
And that is it. That is it. There's no huge, like, God, we've talked about loss so much in this, but this is my own point of reference sometimes. But where you've got a mystery that goes on and on forever, and there's lots of different bits to the mystery, and then there's different sections to it, and then something else gets thrown in. This, I love the simplicity of it, because that's the question. The question is someone lying? And therefore, you are able, between, if you're like you and me sat on the sofa, you're able to go, oh, I think they're lying, and I'm able to go, oh, no, they're telling the truth. And that is it. That's the pull and the push, isn't it? And you don't have to think about anything else. That's just the point that we're dealing with.
I think Chiara Aurelio, Jeanette, and Olivia Holt were both perfectly cast. This has a lot of fun with its side characters. This spends a lot of time, like, each character in the side will kind of have a little moment and an episode where their story's explored. But really, I mean, I think the joy in this is the format. And without the format, it is a pretty average crime drama.
But also the setting of the 90s.
Yes.
Which we loved.
I forgot about
nostalgia geeks as well. So the whole 90s thing, the playing of the Cranberries every 5 minutes, a little bit of Garbage, all of that was, I loved the soundtrack, loved the styling as well.
Yeah.
So you go 90s geek, you go 90s emo, you go 90s prom queen, all of that comes through. And some interesting casting of Harley Quinn. Oh, thank you. I had a moment there. So Harley Quinn Smith is Kevin Smith's daughter, and really playing into that 90s nostalgia, I felt, especially when, she goes to mention in an incredibly meta way one of her dad's films in the show. So, I just loved it so much.
It would have been higher if I remember just seeing the end and thinking, oh, fuck off.
You think that about most things, though?
No, I think the ending wasn't necessarily satisfying for me.
I liked it.
That's fine. I'm really glad that you did. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great fun.
Yeah,
and that's why it's so high on my. Because I remember what was the most fun I have had this year. Well, it's probably watching Cruel Summer.
I can see that. Yeah, I can understand that totally.
Number 1.
Well, shall I go first for my number 1?
Yes, go on then.
So my number 1 is, and I'm trying to think of something awful that we should, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Yeah. No, it's obviously Succession.
It's obviously 3. Succession, yes. Yeah.
And you know what? It's been around my list, and I thought, is it just too obvious?
No,
it's the best thing to be able to tell you this year.
It's the best thing this year. It's been another one of those where we have sat and we have consumed it.
Yes.
We have consumed it. We have listened to other people's podcasts on it.
Yeah.
We have. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've read sort of people's reviews online as well, and it's just one of the greatest experiences, I think, when I'm watching television. I hate some of the things that are happening. I love some of the things that are happening. I'm compelled. I'm also repulsed. And then I think someone is like the worst character in the world, the worst person in the world, and then I see them break down, and I just want to go and like comfort them and tell them everything's going to be okay. There is an amazing thread of parental abuse going all the way through this, so you can see, and we're on season 3 now as well, so you can this is built and built and built, and you can see why certain members of a family behave in a certain way, the way that they treat each other, and it's because both the mother and the father, and we see father very much so in the earlier seasons, but the mother as well, have abused these children in a psychological manner. So you really get that level of understanding.
And I, all the way through this, I've been sort of Team Shiv, and at the end of the third series, we won't go into what happens, but I'm like thinking, oh God, you're letting me down here. Yeah. And then I think, well, why is she letting me down? Because
that's the way
she's really entitled. But she's entitled because she's put down at every step of the way.
Looking for approval, looking for...
I mean, this... I think we said it in our review of it, but I think we both went into this, and the whole world went into this thinking this was going to be Kendall versus Logan this season, and it hasn't been. It's absolutely flipped on its head. My notes for this season, my notes for this entry on my thing consist of 2 words, which are Matthew McFadden. An absolute masterclass of someone who has almost been a comedy character the way through this series. And previous series as well. And he has just absolutely grown and grown. And the line he gives to Kendall about, I never see your dad get fucked, and I think you're going to get fucked. And just that, I'm just going to say the tap on the shoulder. And the tap on the shoulders all the way through. And him worrying about going to prison and his wife seemingly not caring.
Well, absolutely not caring. I don't even think it's seemingly. I think it's absolutely not caring.
Oh, I mean, this for me, this is his season, almost more than anyone in the families.
Okay, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I don't want to get into a full series 3 review here, but I wouldn't. I think he is someone who it grows and grows and grows, and then you. I think you can the reason I'm stumbling is because what I want to say is you could pick any one of those characters and say that we have moved forwards, or that we have learned more, or that things have happened for each one of them. And I think that is the beauty of the writing, is that no one stays still, everyone moves forwards or to the side, or to, there's always something happening. You get to the end of an episode and you just think, what have I just seen? And you think, oh well, there'll be a bit of calm next week, and there isn't. Then there's something else. Then there's something else. And what I loved about this season in particular, and I know some people had issues with it, but what I really liked was the containment. So one episode was just a shareholders meeting, which for me, as someone who's been involved in business, who teaches business law, I found absolutely fascinating. I wanted to use it in my teaching of like, this is what, this is what we do here, even though it's American law. But then there's a birthday party, then there's a wedding, all of these events that are really, you can imagine with these people in particular, have so much attached to them, that so many things could happen during the course of a meeting, that so many things could happen through the course of a birthday party. Do you know what I mean?
I wonder if that was down to COVID.
Well, I was thinking that.
Because they were obviously very, very contained.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, there was my slight reluctance on this is the fact that they are using more and more A-list actors in bit parts.
Okay, yeah.
But we have
Adrian Brody
and Alexander Skarsgård.
I was about to say it's not Stellan. It's not Stellan.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say.
But they don't take over, which is the important bit. They don't take over, and I think they match the other actors. You don't want someone coming in where you kind of go, oh, and there's a bit of a.
You don't want the Brad Pitt in Friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, a little bit. Alexander Skarsgård, I think I kind of wish that was played a different way. And I know what they're trying to get at that performance.
I think I wanted to go into it then, but
yeah. But for me, it was just the wrong side of real. And I wish they had played it a slightly different way. Just if they wanted to go down that route, I think he could have played it a bit more real. Because in some ways, it seems like he's in a different show to everyone else.
Do you feel it's just slightly more heightened?
Yes.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit more of a caricature of someone rather than a natural real being,
Somebody
which is
who's
what
got 3D,
most of the people. And Adrian Brody in some ways is the same as well,
but not as much. I don't think. Yeah.
But this is again. That is the tiniest of criticisms about this show, that we sat there. When a show is an hour long, I'm sometimes like rolling my eyes, like even just that extra quarter of an hour, sometimes pushing me over the edge.
Time.
But it was Monday night. Put our son to bed.
Yeah.
Have tea. We will watch Only Connect, and then we will watch,
Succession.
Yeah.
That's our life.
That was our routine.
Yeah.
And I feel a little bit lost since it's gone.
It is. Yeah. Although there's part of me that's a little bit glad of not the downtime in terms of our life, but the downtime in terms of the emotional down.
Yeah.
You know, that real feeling of, I can breathe a bit, because it's, and again, I am not new in saying this, it's so Shakespearean that you're up a height.
Yeah.
And actually, I mean, we probably need a bit of a break from these people and from that experience that they are living, you know, that world that they're living in. And I can't wait for it to come back.
It's going to be a year, isn't it?
It is, but I think it needs it. I think all of, we've had this previously with the show, and I think that lovely build-up, that ability to just let it breathe, and for them to do, I mean, if they do this again, I mean, how do you? But I'm sure they will. They're gonna write a brilliant show, and then we'll be doing it again. I don't think
Imagine
it will.
if it comes back awful.
Imagine if it was.
Imagine if they turn it into like a situation comedy and...
Well, a lot of people say it is a comedy. Like some of the actors say, it's a comedy, but I don't think it is.
It's not a comedy.
I don't think it's a comedy at all.
Trust me, it obviously has a lot of very comedic beats in it, but it's not a comedy. It's 100% a drama.
Yeah.
With
very dark
moments in there.
Yeah.
Oh, but like almost perfect.
We've done over an hour on this top 10 TV.
Oh,
can't believe it.
We'll do it quickly then. Yeah.
All done. And
the next show is our 100th.
It is our 100th, and we've been chatting about like what should we do. Other people have like special episodes and everything. Alas, we do not have enough time to sort that stuff out, so we will just do a show.
Maybe we should just do like just a really like boring after work drinks and just get out of the way.
Just like, Death on the Nile's coming out soon. It's out. No.
Yes, I'd like to talk to you about Bo Burnham's Inside that I watched this week, and here are my thoughts on it. Yeah. That's just.
Oh, actually, thinking of that, before we finish, could I talk about Midnight Mass, which is the show that would have made it onto my top 10. Don't know where it would have been, but it would have made it into my top 10 had I have watched it in 2021.
I'm glad this is my house was on there rather than this, to be honest. But
so just really, really quickly, second shout out for the Cinemile on this pod. Well, I listened to Kathy and Dave from the Cinemiles TV of the year. So they did their best TV, they did their honourable mentions, they did, like worst TV and things like that. So they did really, really in-depth review of the year with a lot of their listeners adding in their ideas as well. So a brilliant episode. Really recommend people going out and listening to that. I listened to it and I heard them talk about Midnight Mass and being really effusive about it. And I remember thinking, you know what? They've talked about it, but I've heard, for example, the Pilot TV podcast talk about Midnight Mass as well when it first came out, because it came out in September last year on Netflix. It's a Mike Flanagan TV show. He who did The Haunting of something like Bly Manor or The House on the Hill that's haunted.
House on Haunted Hill.
That's it. Anyway, 2 shows that I will never watch because they're both absolutely ridden with ghosts. And as we know, ghosts ain't my thing. I think I watched half an episode of House on Haunted Hill and I was so...
Haunting of Hill House.
Thank you. And I was so scared, like I had to turn the television off, and I would have thrown like a duvet over it if I could, because I was terrified just walking around the house, because there were shots in there of ghosty ghoulies that come out of nowhere and just like, you know, when you're just like, they were there and then they're not there and then they're there and they're looking at you, and yeah, so it just wasn't for me. So I avoided this latest one thinking, oh no, it's going to be more of the same. I have consumed midnight mass in 2 days.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that it's not horrible and it's not scary, because it is. And I have done that thing where you fast forward 10 seconds, or I was on the treadmill as well, and I looked away, I looked down, or I looked up, and I was doing that thing where you wait for something to jump out, and you wait for something to jump out, and you're like, oh, it's going to jump out, and then it does, and then you're like, no, I'm walking on the treadmill, don't put me off walking on the treadmill. So yeah, all of that was happening. I can't say very much about this, because I didn't know very much about it going in.
Yeah, you need to.
So obviously it's called Midnight Mass. There are religious themes in this. It's one of the best breakdowns,
I thought it was just in
think.
like Boston.
Stop it. I knew you were going to make a joke. It's one of the best dramas I've seen for quite a long time that really interrogates religion, that really interrogates what it is to have faith and belief and what that is and what that means to you. It looks at a number of issues like addiction, like medicine, like, you know, just community. It's one of the most, it's difficult to say powerful when you've talked about something like It's a Sin, but it is one of the most thought-provoking and powerful things I've seen for quite some time in terms of its intensity.
Okay.
It really has made me think about things, and I think it'll stay with me for quite a long time. I had worked out what was happening by episode 2, and that was a bit annoying, because everyone says, oh, don't say it, which I'm not saying anything about it. I'm not even talking about the underlying what happens in the first episode, what the setup is or anything like that. I'm not even going to say who's in it. It just had so much that made me really, really think about things, and there were things in it that I've thought myself, and there are things in it that I've shouted at other people for saying to me, and it's such an interesting show when you've had grief and you've had people say things. Why are you doing that? You're doing a funny face.
No.
Is it because it's difficult to explain when?
Yeah, like.
Without saying anything.
Yeah.
It is really, really hard to. I think if you watched it, you would know what I was talking about. But anyway, an interrogation of religion, an interrogation of faith, an interrogation of what it is to have belief or no belief. And I'll stop there, because you're doing something with your hands and you're looking at me as if I've. Yeah.
No, I just don't want to know anything about it.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything.
Well,
all I said was
technically
religion.
you are. I mean, you're saying more than I know more now than I knew like 2 minutes ago.
Okay. Anyway, I thought it was brilliant, and I really got a lot out of it, and I'll think about it a lot, and I'm going to read a lot more about it as well.
Is it better than Cruel Summer?
Ooh. Oh, it's difficult, isn't it, when you've just watched something? It's really difficult when you just watch something, you've watched it like episode after episode after episode. Probably not. I would say, no, probably not.
Well, it sounds it's better, but it's not your favourite.
Yeah, it's not my favourite. Yeah, It's a Sin is better than Cruel Summer. No, I don't think it would. It's bottom end. Probably no, I don't think it would. I think it'd be down the bottom end.
Would it go above?
Oh, will you stop?
Ridley Road.
You just
is that his name?
Ridley Road. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it probably would go above Ridley Road, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would it go above Starstruck?
Stop it. That's on yours. That was number 4 on yours, and no.
Yes.
Look, I remembered.
Well done.
Yeah. Anyway, so now that we've done that bit, that would have been on it. Yeah, I think it's only pertinent for us now to say thank you to everyone for listening to us in 2021.
Yes.
It's been a brilliant year for us on the podcast, not least helped by our line of duty podcast which we've talked about at length on this one.
Yeah, we need to find something else that we can podcast on
Yeah.
live afterwards, but preferably something that doesn't finish at 10 o'clock.
Yes,
Maybe
please.
something finishes, about 5 in the afternoon.
That would be nice.
Can we do like something on Tipping Point?
Yeah, on Lingo.
Yeah, no. Well,
No.
that's massive now.
I know.
Because of Wordle.
Because of Wordle.
Yes.
Yeah, this is going to date this podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit. When everyone's forgotten about Wordle in 5 days' time, then yeah. By the time we get it edited.
I'm so sick of people on Twitter going, this is my Wordle, and I don't understand. I've not played Wordle. I'm sure I would love it because I love wordy things. But...
And you love Lingo.
And I love Lingo,
Well, why don't you
yeah.
just type it in and play it?
Nah, I just can't be bothered. I'm too busy watching TV shows that I should have watched last year.
I normally end up playing it at 4 o'clock in the morning when
When someone's awake.
because people put it on, like the people who don't have children who stop up till past midnight will like put it waiting for the thing.
Just a new
it
one
resets
every...
at midnight.
Right. I can't believe we're talking about Wordle on this podcast.
It's the hot thing in the world. So I see like people on my Twitter when I scroll through it when like Blake wakes me up. So I'm quite often playing it when I get up with Blake because I see that on there and then I get angry and because I run out of letters.
Can I get back to thanking everyone for staying with us?
Look, what's more important, thanking people or me talking about my midnight routine of playing Wordle?
So thanks everyone for sticking with us in 2021. Probably left us now. That's it now. All gone.
Yeah.
2022, not going to be a bumper year, is it?
We'll still get the listens for this one. It's the next one time when we really notice it.
We're like looking and going, there's no one listening anymore. Yeah, but in all honesty, genuinely, it's been a great year for us, and we've absolutely loved doing the podcast. I can't believe we're nearly up to 100, a one-off 100 episodes. Who knew that would happen when we first started out doing this? And we've had a brilliant time, and thanks to everyone who's been in touch with us, thanks to everyone who's messaged us to say that they were enjoying what we were saying or disagreeing with what we were saying, or I had a message the other day from one of our listeners who said that they'd love to have a t-shirt with the Honeymoon Pod the like logo on and all of that sort of stuff. So it's just really, really lovely.
I mean, we're not doing t-shirts.
No, we're well. Wow, you never know. You know, a bit of merch.
You get one printed.
Yeah.
I'll leave
a singular cup.
I think it's a bit cringe for me to put
what?
something on.
What about taking a cup into work? Yeah?
I know, that's massive cringe.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I might do it. Yeah. Why not?
I mean, I'm drinking it from home, in my home office,
when
I'm working from home.
Yeah.
I'm not taking one into the office. Oh, can you just imagine?
Yes, I
What's
can.
in your cup? What's in your cup? Oh,
it's my podcast.
I never mention this at work. I never mention this at work. People don't know about it. People.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. No. I've mentioned it once, like when we were in the newspaper.
Yeah,
and
it is quite difficult to get. When you did you not say, look, I'm on local radio this week.
Not in the slightest.
Oh wow, okay,
no.
Interesting.
I mentioned it to one of my mates, but yeah, no, I don't. And then someone at work goes, "Oh, you're into your podcast, aren't you?" And I'm like.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
You should say it.
No,
you should say. Well, actually,
people might have seen my Twitter, and
I have my own podcast.
Yeah.
I am that person.
People might have people might have looked me up on Twitter and seen like a link to something. Bit cringe, innit? But yeah, if I had a cup with it on, oh, yeah, it's my podcast. Everyone would just turn around and go, "Dickhead." I would. Anyway,
we'll be getting a cup then.
Well, if anyone wants
cups.
one, just let us know. Seriously, if someone really wants one, I'm almost going to say I'll pay for it.
Just for the fun of it.
Just for the marketing. I won't be having one. We should have given them out for Christmas presents.
Oh, that's such a good idea. Next Christmas. There we go.
And hopefully everyone who listens who we know has all forgotten.
Yeah. Just remember they're coming. Yeah. Seriously,
thank
big serious thank you.
Whilst I am joking about, thank you so much. It's something that I really enjoy doing, and it's something because I don't have to edit it, and it's something where it's really nice just to stop and talk about stuff because life is quite hectic at times, and just have that stop and just talk to you. And I hope. People say it sounds just like 2 minutes talking about stuff, and there's a reason for that. It's because it is. So please, thank you. And I think a lot of the stuff that we've just said probably best placed in the 100th, an actual celebration of what we've done. But yeah.
We'll see you then. Back for the 100th.
See you later.
So, do you want to come with me? Spores?